It's not even that deep, but this story
Oh,
here
yes.
about the
Yes.
BBC canceling Gary
Yes.
Lineker's final interview with Mohamed Salah over concerns they would discuss Gaza. And so Gary Lineker, you all can add to this just so folks are clear, like this legendary footballer and news journalist, newscaster, sportscaster, and
television presenter.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. And he was retiring or forced out or pushed out in part, I thought, because of his politics. But then there was supposed to be this last interview that he was going to do with Mohamed Salah, the Egyptian king, as they call him, and who has at times apparently said a word or two about Palestine and spoken out on their behalf. And there was this concern they were going to bring it up. So the BBC, British Broadcasting Company, shut it down, canceled it over fears that the Gaza genocide might have come up naturally in conversation. So I just, I didn't really have any, like I said, I don't have anything deep. I'm definitely interested in what you all think about this, but I was just like, just yet one more example of, so because I'm doing this for my summer class. We're reading Sociology of Prisons is the class. We're reading Tip of the Spear by Orasami Burton, which is, I think, just this incredible book. And just because it's so fresh in my mind, so much of what he talks about is the battle over the narrative around prisons and prison rebellion, and how much effort has gone into managing public opinion around prisons and incarceration. And I just can't help but see another version of that here, that this is just another attempt to manage the popular public perception of a world footballing audience.
Hold on. Whenever I see "however" in the article, like my eyes are attached to it. Could you scroll down, like to more or less the bottom of the article where it says something, however?
The BBC, however, denied any political motives.
That's great. That's fantastic.
The BBC, however, denied any political motives behind the decision. A spokesperson stated the interview was canceled because it was planned to air after Gary's last match of the day. It would be wrong to suggest anything else. Yeah. Would it BBC be wrong to suggest anything else? However, I think Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna shoot them bail just now, but no, because I don't believe the bail I would give them. So they definitely took him off the air because of that.
Yeah.
So
without question,
they took him off the air because of that, or they shut down the interview because of that?
Both, all the above.
Match of the Day is the most watched football program in England. So how would you word it? They have blockades on certain games because they want people to go to the stadium. So like for us on the East Coast, like the 7:00 game for them is the noon game. They broadcast the noon game. But then at 10 for us, which for them is 3:00, those games are embargoed. So they can't the embargoed game. So the only time that you would get to watch a football match of all the 3:00 kickoffs is on Match of the Day, because the incentive on Saturdays is to get people into the stadium, not having them stay at home and watch the games on TV. So a lot of people watch Match of the Day to catch up on what happened in the league. So it's one of the more popular shows that the BBC has. So Gary Lineker has hosted that show for a long time. And so to remove him from Match of the Day is like a really, 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 really big deal in the UK. And it's coming because of his willingness to say political things. Yeah.
So there's a clip.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, Daniel. Sorry. No. I thought you were. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, my bad.
I was just gonna. I think I was just gonna reiterate things I've already said. So you're good. You're fine.
Well, there's a YouTube clip. I was trying to find it. Maybe you can, Jared. But he's doing an interview with the guy. From I think it's a BBC interview, and it's about the guys. You can tell that the talking points have been clearly gone over, and it's like, hey, the BBC is impartial. about what's going on or has to be impartial. And the guy's questioning him, and Gary, to his credit, just chimes in right away and says, no, wait, impartial about genocide. Like, he basically says, like, this is something you need to take a stance on. And actually, you're not impartial, are you? Because he points out, and if people remember this, I'm pretty sure Gary Lineker or somebody, it was platformed on with the consent of everybody associated with DPL. Alexander Zinchenko, Arsenal player, still currently an Arsenal player, had an interview where they talked about Ukraine, and he was allowed to platform his support for that, or is it right? And then and now when it comes to occupied Palestine and the genocide, you can't say anything. And Gary has stepped over the line repeatedly. So there's no way to couch this as anything but a political move because he's been talking about it.
It's a censure, effectively, but because they got rid of him. And Lineker, for the last few World Cups, has been their lead guy on the BBC.
Oh, he's a staple.
So they set up wherever the World Cup is, and he leads their coverage and has done so since definitely since 2014, because I remember watching the coverage after Brazil got rocked 7-1, and Gary Lineker was one of the ones that was doing the studio show. So for at least a decade, probably 2. So yeah, not to mention he's one of England's best strikers of all time. Played for Spurs, played for Barcelona, played in Leicester, I think. So yeah, to get rid of him they wouldn't just get rid of Gary Lineker. He's really good at his job. So they're doing it because of the political imperative.
I think I found this.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Just play this for a little bit. You can the guy's trying to basically be impartial. He's like, no.
But the BBC as a whole needs to be impartial about it.
Why? It needs to be factual.
It needs to be impartial about a conflict, doesn't it? And it's hard.
Does it have to be? It wasn't impartial about Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah. And you might say that
why does it have to be impartial about? I understand if it's partial about our government and things in this country and everything like that, but something that's going on that far away, why does it?
Because the Israeli position is that what is happening in Gaza, and by the way, I'm not here as an advocate of the Israeli government, but the Israeli position is that what is happening in Gaza is a response to the slaughter and capture of innocent Israelis on October the 7th. And
which was awful, which was truly awful.
And that full context needs to be there when discussing what's going on.
But that's not the full context, is it? Because the full context starts way before October the 7th.
No, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so, they cut it there.
He cuts it there, but then my man, he
well, the guy I'm using, the channel I'm getting it from, cut it there. I don't know the interview cut it there.
The interviewer, the guy talking to Gary, just basically goes into the same points that you see on the corporate media spaces, the big platforms, where he's just like, no, but that's their position, right? That's Israel's position. Oh, and he does that clever little trick at the beginning, like, I'm not here on behalf of the Israeli government, right? Which is okay, fine, true, but I'm gonna.
But his whole frame
is that. However, I'm not here to
parroting their points. Exactly.
Let me parrot the talking points of the Israeli government.
No, so I gotta say this, and I would love to talk about Champions League or something too, like getting the football in the last 10-15 minutes. We have that, but kind of not to like just wrap a bow on this necessarily, but I want to champion this book. If y'all haven't read this, you get your hands on it.
It's coming in backward. For me, it's coming in
backwards.
Is it? Can you read the title?
It's backwards, yeah.
It's mirror.
Perfect Victims.
All right, Perfect Victims and the Politics of Appeal by Mohamed Salah. Perfect Victims and the Politics of Appeal. So what I love that he does in this book is he essentially calls the world, everybody, out for this narrative that somehow that Palestinians need to be humanized in order for us to see them as worthy of dignity, of standing up to their own oppression. Yeah, and he just simply says, listen, if they have hate in their heart, so what? Like, why wouldn't you have hate in your heart? This isn't the issue. The issue is what's actually happening to them. So anyway, I encourage people to get that. Yeah, it's a great book. Yeah.
And
people need to check
so
it out.
apparently the author's been on Millennials Are Killing Capitalism a number
Oh
of
yeah.
times.
Yeah, Mohamed Salah is he's somebody's living in his. I mean, he talks about it, and he's in interviews. He writes about it. Like he has people in his house. Like there's settlers who've taken over his yard. Like this is something that he's. He expresses so eloquently and powerfully.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.